In Tanzania, the dry season does not arrive in a single clear instant. It comes with a slow retreat of water. First, the smaller pools vanish. Then the grass loses its color. Then the river begins to shrink, exposing a ribbon of pale sand like bone. Only when every creature that depends on it is dragged toward the same narrowing source does the truth become undeniable. The dry season has taken full command. The Tanzania River becomes the last artery of an entire region. As surrounding waterholes evaporate beneath the sun, thousands of creatures are left with no choice but to converge here. What was once a source of life becomes a stage too small for too many mouths, too many bodies, too many hungers, thirsts, and instincts for conflict. In the remaining mud pools, an old and brutal authority still holds on: the hippopotamus. They are almost imprisoned inside what was once their kingdom. By day, they can do little except remain submerged for hours in brown mud, protecting sensitive skin from the burning light. They look like enormous sleeping masses. But that silence has never meant gentleness. Only when darkness falls, when the air softens slightly, do they leave the water to feed, dragging smooth pathways across the grass. And even in the harshest season, the hippo continues to nourish the ecosystem in ways few others can. Its waste returns nutrients to the water, helping aquatic life endure the season of depletion. A massive, violent, unpredictable beast is also one of the quiet sustainers of the world around it. On the savannah, paradox is not an exception. It is the rule. Then larger shadows appear along the sandy banks. Elephants, the wisest inhabitants of the dry lands. They have crossed dozens of dusty miles each day beneath the leadership of the matriarch, a creature carrying in her memory a map invisible to the eye. Before them, the Tanzania is now nothing more than a white strip of sand with no visible drop of water left on its surface. But what other animals read as emptiness? Elephants read as a riddle with an answer. The water still exists. It has only retreated downward. And with trunks filled with strength and tusks like living digging tools, the herd begins to excavate. Sand flies upward. One layer after another is cleared away until damp mud appears. Then groundwater seeps upward like a miracle summoned by memory. These self-made wells do not save the elephants alone. When the herd moves on, it leaves behind tiny oases where antelope, zebra, birds, and countless other creatures can fight for a chance to drink. The elephant has never been only an immense body. It is an engineer, a guide, and a keeper of hidden lifelines for an entire dying land. But once water appears, death appears with it. Any place that concentrates life becomes a rendezvous point for predators. And in Tanzania, that truth is laid bare without disguise. The heat warps the horizon. Dust hangs in the air as though time itself has thickened. That is when other creatures begin to speak in their own language. Tanzania is not only the battleground of large mammals, it is also a world of birds. The ostrich strides like a machine built specifically for emptiness. It cannot fly, so all power has been concentrated in its long, muscular legs. Height gives it the vision of a watchtower, and a speed of more than 40 miles an hour allows it to outrun most threats on land. If the ostrich is the largest bird, then the Cory bustard reminds us that even flight comes at a price. Heavy, slow, almost reluctant to take wing, it survives through a philosophy of careful energy use. Every step across the cracked ground, every peck for insects and reptiles, becomes a declaration that not every species needs speed to win. Some endure by moving so cautiously, but Tanzania is not only the story of contraction, it is also the story of waiting. The whole land seems to hold its breath, stretching endurance as far as it can until the sky changes color. If the lion is what human beings most often imagine when they think of African power, the elephant is the force capable of rewriting the landscape itself. A fully grown African elephant can weigh well over 13,000 pounds, neither fast nor elegant, but a living wall almost impossible to move. Elephants are called a keystone species not because they impress, but because without them, the grassland would collapse in ways human eyes would never immediately predict. Every day, an elephant consumes enormous quantities of vegetation, uprooting trees, breaking branches, opening clearings for grass, creating feeding ground for countless herbivores. Elephants do not merely live inside the ecosystem, they build it. Yet what makes them one of nature's deepest beings is not just their size, it is memory. The matriarch is not only a leader, she is a living map. She remembers where water once stood years ago, remembers old routes, remembers which direction to turn when drought becomes unforgiving, remembers how to lead her family through seasons that destroyed others. And the memory of elephants is not only ecological, it is emotional. When passing the bones of one of their own, they stop and touch the skull with their trunks in a gesture that resembles mourning. On a continent where many creatures live quickly, die quickly, and are stripped away from the earth quickly, elephants still leave behind a silence that feels almost sacred. Their grief is not metaphor. Under another law of water, the hippo holds its own place. It may look heavy, awkward, almost absurd to eyes that have never stood near one in rage. But that is a dangerous illusion. Its bones are too dense for it to swim in the way people imagine. Instead, it walks or bounds along the riverbed like a giant astronaut in an in-between world that belongs neither fully to land nor fully to water. Its skin is so sensitive that it must coat itself in a red-pink secretion, its so-called blood sweat, to protect itself from sunlight and infection. Its tusks, nearly half a meter long, and its impossibly wide gape are not decorative threats. They are sufficient to tear apart almost anything foolish enough to cross into water claimed by a hippo. At night, one can consume dozens of kilograms of grass. By day, its waste enriches the entire aquatic system. So, the hippo is not only the tyrant of the river, it is also one of its hidden providers. On land, the lioness embodies a different form of power. If the male is often imagined as the emblem of the throne, it is the female who serves as the true spine of the pride. She hunts, she nurses, she holds the pride together. She performs the hardest tasks at the hardest times. A mature lioness is powerful not only in muscle, but in her ability to read the wind, divide the formation, act as distraction, cut off escape, and bite exactly where it matters. Lionesses live together as sisters, mothers, aunts, grandmothers. A blood bond transformed into strategy. And when the pride targets buffalo, it ceases to be one predator facing one herbivore. It becomes an entire social structure confronting a fortress that knows how to fight back. It is coordination that allows a 265-pound predator to bring down something many times its own mass. From a distance, the alkaline lake seems to have been dyed into a vast band of pink. Not light, not illusion, but millions of flamingos. They gather here in answer to a call older than any human road, turning a pale lake into a blazing pink sea of living movement. That beauty is not vanity, it is biology refined until it becomes art. The flamingo's strange curved beak is not a defect. It is a filtering instrument, dredging through the shallows for algae and tiny crustaceans rich in pigment. That food is what paints the feathers. Millions of beaks filtering at once create a sound, like the lake itself has learned how to breathe. But the flamingos are more than spectacle. By feeding continuously, they regulate the bloom of algae after the rains and help preserve the fragile balance of the lake's ecosystem. Nearby, on the fresh grass, gray-crowned cranes begin their courtship dances. Each leap, each spread of the wings, each cry rising into the wet air is a declaration that life intends to continue. Rain does not only return water, it returns breeding, pairing, inheritance, and renewal. Across the Serengeti, the new grass becomes an invitation. And at the far horizon, without any signal from above, the earth itself begins to tremble beneath the weight of millions of hooves. This is not an evacuation. Not a short journey to the next watering place. This is the Great Migration. More than 1 million wildebeest, together with hundreds of thousands of zebras and gazelles, gather into a living army, preparing to embark on a journey of hundreds of miles across a world where death waits at every turn. This is the largest movement of wildlife on land anywhere on Earth, but its greatness does not lie in numbers alone. It lies in the fact that every body inside that current is walking between life and loss. The zebras move first, not because they are strongest, but because their digestive systems can handle the coarse upper grasses, making them the path clearers. The wildebeest follow, taking advantage of the shorter, protein-rich growth left behind. Gazelles travel at the edges, waiting for the spaces opened by the larger herds. Each species, through its own difference, contributes to the success of the whole. But the grasslands never allow a miracle to occur without demanding payment. Along the route, lions, hyenas, leopards, wild dogs, and countless other hunters trail the migration like shadows that know how to wait. They do not need the entire herd. They need only the younger one, the weaker one, the exhausted one, the one a fraction too slow. Those are the bodies that fall. And that cruelty, however disturbing to the human eye, is precisely how the savannah keeps its balance. The weak die, so the strong may continue. Carcasses feed predators, vultures, bacteria, grass. On these plains, death is not interruption. It is continuation in another form. Because beneath that water, dark forms have waited all year. Nile crocodiles, killing machines that have barely needed to change since the age of dinosaurs. They do not chase. They do not need explosive speed. They lie still, pretending to be logs, waiting for an entire river of life to pour into their jaws. When the first one leaps, the plains erupt. That leap is not heroism. It is the necessary beginning of chaos. The rest pour after it. Water explodes upward. Hooves strike mud, strike each other, strike the bodies already fallen. Some reach the other side. Some vanish midstream. Every year, thousands of wildebeest die in this crossing. But even the river does not kill meaninglessly. It is the final test that selects those strong enough to continue. And the bodies that drift along the banks will feed the very world they once sustained. The great turning point of this section lies here. The Great Migration is not merely an event. It is the beating heart that pumps life through the entire savannah. Without that movement, the grass would grow differently. Predators would starve differently. Soil would weaken. Lakes would change. Birds would alter their routes. And the plains would no longer be themselves. People often call it a miracle of nature, but in truth, it is a machine beautiful and merciless, where every footstep belongs to a design larger than any individual. And even after Mara is crossed, even after the roaring water is left behind, the journey is not over, because in this world, surviving one ordeal has never meant safety. It means only that one has earned the right to face the next. At the top of that order stands the lion, the symbol of strength, discipline, and power forged through family. A pride of lions does not exist as a few wandering individuals out hunting. It functions like a true military unit, where roles are clearly assigned, loyalty is a condition of survival, and the throne is held by blood. When large prey, such as a buffalo, is brought down, the first law takes effect immediately. The dominant male eats first. Whether he directly took part in the hunt or not, the privilege of the one holding the throne is never questioned. To protect this rich source of nutrition and the future of their bloodline, the males form brotherhood coalitions, patrolling tirelessly like a living wall of steel, driving every intruder away from the invisible boundary of power. On this land, blood ties are not merely emotion, they are a tool for holding the throne. Opposed to that solemnity is the world of the spotted hyena, a domain organized through chaos. Do not let their laughter deceive you. It is not the sound of joy. It is an announcement of presence, a declaration of power within a matriarchal society where the females hold the final law. If the lion relies on unity, the hyena lives within a structure where competition never sleeps. They may cooperate to tear a prey animal into strips of flesh, and only seconds later turn to biting one another over the very last scrap. With devastating bite force and digestive systems powerful enough to crush bone, horn, and hoof, hyenas are the most thorough cleaners of the plains. Nothing is left. Nothing is wasted. If the lion is like a great fire, explosive and overwhelming, then the hyena is like the wind, persistent, loud, probing endlessly for weakness. The war between those two dynasties has never been merely about food. It is a campaign of mutual destruction to prove who has the greater right to stand longest on the savannah. And between those two worlds lies a third dynasty that chooses to rule through silence, the leopard, the ghost of the savannah. No pride, no allies, no one guarding its back. Its strength lies in solitude, yet that solitude is also its fatal weakness. A small scratch can become a death sentence when there is no one to share the burden. So the leopard does not hunt with the frenzy of the hyena. It measures distance inch by inch, reading the terrain like an architect of survival. When it strikes, the prey often never understands what has happened. And to keep its prize from opportunistic thieves, it performs what no other great predator on the plains does better, hauling a carcass nearly twice its own body weight into a tree. To the leopard, the acacia is not a plant, it is a fortress. If the ground is a chessboard full of the traps of lions and hyenas, then the branches are the only square that allows escape from a losing move. Its flexible shoulders, fast twitch muscles, and collarbone-free structure, unlike other big cats, were all shaped to open a gate to the highest level of the savannah. But that fortress cannot protect it forever. Every time it must descend to drink, move, or change hunting ground, the clock of survival begins counting down again. First comes the cheetah, nature's Formula One machine. Massive lungs, a large heart, open nostrils, a spine like a biological spring, a long tail functioning as a rudder. Everything in its body is built for one brief but almost perfect explosion of speed. Each stride can cover extraordinary distance, and in only a few seconds the whole world around it compresses into a straight line between hunter and victim. But the price of that perfection is fragility. Its claws do not fully retract, which gives better grip but denies it sharp weapons. It cannot climb like the leopard. It cannot defend itself like the lion. After a short chase, its body temperature surges and it nearly collapses, needing time to recover. It is precisely at that weakest moment that stronger thieves arrive to rob it. On the savannah, the winner of the chase is not always the one who gets to eat. And for the cheetah, that is the repeated tragedy of a creature born to be faster than everything else, yet never allowed a single mistake. The mortality rate of cheetah cubs is extremely high, mostly because of hyenas and larger predators. So every lesson in hunting is also a lesson against extinction. If the cheetah is velocity, then the African wild dog is collective intelligence in its purest form. They do not need to be the fastest species. They only need to force the prey to run out of breath first. A pack of wild dogs moves like one body with many legs. When one individual tires, another takes its place. Sound, eye contact, position, stride. Everything in the hunt is part of a network of coordination. They do not pursue with a short burst of violence, but with the endurance of a drawn-out sentence. When the prey finally falls, the feeding is rapid, because lions or hyenas can appear at any time. Yet the most astonishing thing is not the moment of the kill. It is what comes after. The pups still at the den, the nursing females, the injured individuals are not abandoned. They are fed by regurgitated meat, by a society that places sharing at the center of its structure. Few large predators on this continent live by such a strong internal ethic. And precisely because they are bound so tightly together, they are also more vulnerable to disease, habitat loss, and pressure from lions. The strength of the wild dog is unity. Its weakness is that very same thing. Then there is the caracal, the savannah's air defense system. A medium-sized body not large enough to shock at first glance, but inside it is a killing machine refined almost to perfection. The black tufts on its ears are not decoration. They help orient sound, read the movement of prey in grass and even in the air. From a completely still position, the caracal can explode upward and snatch a bird out of the sky. The black-backed jackal, meanwhile, is the strategist of this land. Not as strong as the leopard, not as fast as the cheetah, but clever enough to know when to hunt, when to scavenge, when to wait for the giants to finish their disputes before stepping in. Living in pairs, marking territory, communicating through howls and scent, the jackal survives by reading the environment with almost cunning precision. But the savanna does not create only brilliant hunters. It also produces masters of defense. Wildebeest live by the selfish herd theory. You do not need to outrun the lion, only the unlucky one beside you. More than 1 million bodies knit together into a shield of probability, driving the chances of any one individual being chosen close to zero. Zebras wear nature's own disruptive technology. When the herd runs, their black and white stripes merge into a visual labyrinth that makes it extremely difficult for an ambushing predator to estimate the exact speed and distance of a single target. They also live in harems, where the dominant stallion is both commander and shield, capable of delivering a kick strong enough to shatter a lion's jaw. The impala turns its leap into a psychological message. I am fit. Do not waste your energy on me. The warthog, when cornered, forces the hunter to scrape low against hot ground through thorns and dust to capture a creature small in size but hard as stone in spirit. The buffalo is simpler. It does not seek conflict, but once pushed, the entire herd closes into a living fortress. And the giraffe, the tallest land animal on Earth, reminds the savanna of another paradox. Elegance has never been the opposite of violence. Its kick can make a predator pay dearly, yet the moment it bends to drink, it becomes the most vulnerable creature on the plains. A single second of imbalance can decide everything. The instant the lions reveal themselves, the savanna changes face. The earth begins to shake beneath pounding hooves. The buffalo do not explode into panic. They turn. Calves are driven inward. Great heads lower in unison. The herd becomes a living barricade, an army with no formal training. Yet a response so exact, it feels written into them by every hard season that came before. A single countercharge can hurl a full-grown lion clear off the ground. And this is where the savanna reminds everyone of the truth. On these plains, the title of king is never a guarantee of safety. This is a land of extremes. By day, the sun beats down until the ground splits open in dry, baked fractures. By night, the heat drains away, leaving a cold sharp enough to slice through exhausted flesh. Tall grass feeds herbivores, hides them, and becomes the perfect curtain for ambush. Acacia trees stand scattered like lonely sentries, offering rare shade, yet also casting shadows deep enough for death to crouch inside. From a distance, the savanna seems open. But the more open it is, the more it becomes the greatest trap of all. No caves, no deep forests, no doors to close against fate. Every escape unfolds on a stage without hiding places. Every movement is exposed to the light. Every mistake has someone waiting to profit from it. And perhaps that is what makes the savanna both terrifying and almost sacred. This is not merely where animals live. This is where essence is forced into the open. Lions cannot rely on majesty alone. Buffalo cannot rely on sheer size alone. The hunter must be hungry enough to risk everything, clever enough to wait, disciplined enough to compress chaos into a single fatal moment. The hunter must be stubborn enough to stand, calm enough to hold formation, brave enough to turn back into danger when one of their own is being dragged away. On this land, victory does not belong to whoever is called the strongest. It belongs to the one who understands the limits of its world more clearly than anyone else. The savannah does not kill in only one way, and that is what makes this world both beautiful and terrible. Death does not wear a single face here. It may come in the form of a pride of lions operating like a war machine. It may arrive on the silent feet of a leopard, so soft that even the grass has no time to bow. It may explode like a bolt of lightning through the body of a cheetah, then vanish seconds later because the creature has nearly burned itself alive with speed. Or it may come in the warped laughter of the spotted hyena, a sound humans have long mistaken for cowardice, when in truth it belongs to one of the most relentless and battlefield-savvy hunters on the plains. The lion is the clearest embodiment of collective power. No other great cat places its fate in the strength of a group the way it does. Lionesses carry out most of the hunts, coordinating in crescent formations, controlling the wind, cutting pathways, severing prey from every illusion of safety it once possessed. What makes lions terrifying is not muscle or jaws alone. It is the psychology of the hunt. They do not merely attack flesh, they assault resolve. A prey animal isolated from its herd often loses long before the first bite lands. On the savannah, isolation is the first act of violence. Everything that follows is only the formal conclusion. But if the lion represents the power of unity, the leopard proves that solitude is not the same as weakness. It does not need support. It does not summon a pack. It does not announce itself with a roar. It trusts in patience, in silence, in the ability to dissolve into shadow, bark, and grass as though it were never there at all. Its rosetted coat is not merely beautiful. It is a living deception. The leopard does not rush toward chaos. It waits. It waits until the gap is narrow enough, until the victim takes one careless step, until the world falters for one beat. Then it detonates. Fast, brief, violent. And once the kill is made, it does what few predators can. It drags prey several times its own weight into a tree, lifting its meal out of the reach of hyenas, lions, and every thief, following the scent of blood. As the heat continues to tighten its grip, even the wells dug by elephants begin to fail. The scent of distant water draws the herds away from the last scraps of safety and pulls them down toward the lower reaches of the Nile. But on this continent, a glittering surface has never meant peace. It is often only a thin skin stretched over another law, a world where the victor is not always the strongest, but the one who knows how to wait. In rivers like the White Nile, water is the final stronghold against the furnace heat of the savannah. The hippopotamus, the river's bulky giant, spends most of its life submerged to shield its sensitive skin from the sun. Yet that lumbering form is a dangerous illusion. In water, hippos can surge forward with astonishing speed, fast enough to reduce an intruder to mangled flesh before it fully understands what has crossed its path. Drought forces the hippo into a cruel compromise. As grazing land dries out, it must leave the relative safety of the river and march across cracked plains beneath the burning sun in search of nearly 90 pounds of grass every day. And although many imagine them as heavy, lethargic creatures, hippos are among the most dangerous animals in Africa. Their mouths open to impossible angles, their tusks are shaped like knives, and the violence of their anger can destroy anything that wanders too close. In these waters, the river has an owner. But hippos are not the only nightmare here. Nile crocodiles still line the banks like armored statues from another age. After large meals, they bask under the sun, not to rest, but to transform their bodies into biological furnaces, activating stomach acids powerful enough to digest almost everything from flesh and skin to hoof and bone. Lying side by side, they share heat, turning the riverbank into an immense engine of slow destruction. They're capable of sleeping with only half the brain at rest, while the other half remains alert, reading the slightest vibration in water and air. They seem motionless, yet every second, their nervous systems are tracking pressure, movement, and the smallest shift in the world around them. That stillness is not laziness. It is power, compressed and waiting for its moment. Then a force from the mainland arrives, and the entire order of the riverbank changes in an instant. A herd of elephants emerges. For them, the river is not merely a place to drink. It is a sanctuary where family bonds are renewed, where the matriarch confirms the memories she carries, where the social fabric of the herd is restored after a journey through dust and heat. The mere presence of elephants is enough to drive crocodiles back without a fight. One wise crocodile slides silently into the water. The others vanish after it, as though admitting that a greater authority has just taken command. And when the elephants take the bank, what is asserted is not only the dominance of one species, it is a deeper order. The invisible interdependence that binds all life on the savannah together. When the riverbank settles again, the story of Uganda continues through the sky. In the quieter wetlands, the shoebill appears like a relic from prehistoric time. Its bill is enormous, hard as stone. Its gaze is cold and vacant, almost inhuman. It can stand motionless among reeds for hours, so patient it seems more object than animal. But that stillness is its weapon. The instant a lungfish surfaces from the mud, that massive bill strikes with the speed of lightning. There is no drama, no flourish, only a precise ending honed by millions of years of evolution. Out on the sunlit grasslands, the secretary bird chooses a different path. It does not soar like an eagle. It walks across the earth on long, elegant legs, carrying an almost aristocratic beauty. Yet beneath that grace is a specialist executioner of the savannah's deadliest snakes. Each stomp can strike with several times its own body weight, enough to crush a skull outright. It is like a dancer performing on a stage built for death, precise, beautiful, and utterly without retreat. Higher still circles the African fish eagle, its cry spiraling through the sky like the voice of the continent itself. Its brilliant eyes can lock onto movement beneath the water from astonishing distances. Then it folds its wings and plunges like an arrow, lifting prey from the river with talons as sharp as blades. But when those wings come to rest in the branches, and the heat of midday thickens over Uganda, another phantom begins to move, the African leopard. While lions and cheetahs retreat in exhaustion, the leopard turns the middle of the day into opportunity. Beneath sparse shade and searing sunlight, its golden black body melts into the dry foliage. Drought demands patience from it greater than ever. It can lie for hours like a stone with eyes, watching for a young antelope or a troop of monkeys weakened by thirst. When it strikes, it tears open the silence with a short, precise burst of violence, too fast for the prey to cry out. But making the kill is only half the victory. In the hot, dry air, the scent of blood travels quickly, summoning hyenas and every other thief nearby. Without hesitation, the leopard must haul its kill into the branches, suspending its meal above the world below. On this land, survival is not only about taking food, it is about keeping it. Leaving Uganda does not make the story gentler. It only changes its colors. If the savannah is an open stage where every creature is exposed to the light, then Borneo and Sumatra are kingdoms of green darkness, where the canopy is so dense that sunlight must tear through layers of leaves before it ever reaches the ground. Here, power is not always declared by a roar. Often, it is held in silence, in memory, and in the ancient trees that carry the fate of entire generations inside their hollow trunks. High above, the heavy beating of wings makes the forest shudder. The rhinoceros hornbill appears like a living emblem of Borneo's sky. The hollow casque on its bill is not a decoration. It is a resonating chamber, amplifying calls that travel for miles to announce territory and presence. Their lives are tied inseparably to ancient trees with natural cavities. When breeding season begins, the female seals herself inside the nest with mud, remaining in darkness for weeks while she molts and raises her young. Outside, the male shoulders everything. He must gather food, stay faithful, and endure long enough to carry an entire family through its most fragile chapter. By eating large fruits that smaller birds cannot handle, hornbills become master sowers of the forest, scattering seeds far and wide, beginning quiet acts of rebirth across the jungle. Step away from the open plains and into the rainforests of South America, and the rules of danger change instantly. Here, death does not always arrive in visible pursuit. It drifts through leaves, clings to bark, and waits in silence so complete that sometimes only a pair of eyes reveals it at all. In this green labyrinth, the margay is a small ghost, almost born from the darkness itself. As the forest begins to sink into the blue-green light of dusk, a spotted body appears on a branch high above the ground. It is so light that the branch barely moves. This is the margay, one of the rainforest's greatest climbing specialists. Unlike many big cats that belong mostly to the forest floor, the margay is a creature of the upper world. Its body is designed for height, flexible limbs, gripping paws, a long balancing tail, and ankle joints capable of remarkable rotation that allow it to descend tree trunks in ways that seem to defy common sense. The margay does not need display. In a dense rainforest, the true winner is not the largest predator, but the one that can vanish most completely. A sleeping bird does not know that only a few feet away, in the darkness of the leaves, a hunter's large round eyes are fixed on it. A squirrel leaps too carelessly. A tiny opening appears between two branches. For the margay, that is enough. Up in the canopy, safety and death are separated by only the smallest mistakes. One misjudged leap, one failed grip, one branch too slick. Yet the margay does not merely survive up here. It belongs here. It crosses branches as if walking along private bridges suspended above the forest, moving through a vertical world that many predators can only look up at. But what truly turns the margay into legend is not how high it climbs. It is that, in the darkness of the rainforest, it can hunt in a world most predators were never meant to master. A slight movement flashes through a cluster of leaves. Instantly, the margay lowers itself against the branch, every muscle freezing into total concentration. Then it springs. Not with the brute violence of a jaguar, not with the crushing power of a larger cat, but with speed, precision, and total control. The strike takes place above the forest floor, in a world of swaying branches where even a small sound can shatter the silence. The margay is proof that the rainforest has kings of its own. It is just that their thrones are not set on the ground. They hang between branches, suspended high in the canopy, where only the truly adapted can rule. And when night deepens, and the margay melts back into leaf and shadow, it is as though the forest has closed itself around one more secret. Only silence was worthy of keeping. In the rainforest, not every empire is built with claws, teeth, or venom. There is another empire, one so small that you could step over it without understanding what you just passed. Across the damp forest floor, through roots, leaf litter, and shadow, leaf-cutter ants operate an ancient agricultural civilization, one perfected by nature long before humans ever imagined farming. Morning in the rainforest is never truly still. Beneath your feet, a living road is already moving. Lines of leafcutter ants stretch forward in endless procession, each one carrying a fragment of green above its body like a tiny banner. From a distance, the scene looks almost impossible. The leaves seem to be moving by themselves. The forest appears to be cutting itself apart and carrying the pieces away. But those leaf fragments are not food in the ordinary sense. Leafcutter ants do not eat the leaves directly. They farm fungus. The colony is a superorganism, where each individual is only one cell in a far greater machine. Cutters, carriers, gardeners, soldiers, nurses, deep underground, their chambers open into hidden farms and nurseries, a buried city organized with a precision so complete it feels almost cold. Some ants are soldiers, their oversized heads and powerful jaws built for defense. Some are so small they ride the leaf fragments, protecting them from parasitic flies and other attackers. Others may spend their entire lives in darkness below, never once seeing sunlight. What appears from the outside to be a chaotic rainforest is, beneath the soil, the site of one of the most structured societies in the natural world. But the most astonishing thing about leafcutter ants is not that they can carry loads many times their own weight. It is that each tiny body seems to live less for itself than for the colony, as though the entire nest is one single creature with millions of legs. Then, a tropical downpour crashes into the forest. The ant highway is battered. Water spills through soft earth and splashes through leaf litter. For many small creatures, such rain would mean disaster. But the ant column does not collapse. It adjusts. It reroutes. It clings and carries on. No shouted commands, no visible leader. Only collective instinct operating like a distributed mind. Leafcutter ants teach the rainforest another lesson about power. Size is not always the measure of dominance. Some empires are built from millions of tiny steps, from coordination so exact that it borders on the unbelievable. And when we watch those moving fragments of green winding across the forest floor, we are not simply looking at insects. We are watching an ancient civilization at work, carrying the machinery of its own survival on bodies no larger than blades of grass. In the rainforest, the most dangerous things are not always the largest. Sometimes death wears colors so vivid it seems unreal. On a floor of wet leaves and green moss, tiny creatures shine like drops of living paint, blue, yellow, red, orange. They are so beautiful they almost seem made to brighten the forest. But poison dart frogs were not born to be admired. They were born to be remembered, do not touch. After rain, the forest floor exhales the smell of wet soil, leaf rot, and plant resin. Between twisted roots, a tiny frog appears. It is only the size of a few fingertips, but its skin blazes with color so bold it feels almost defiant. In nature, bright colors are rarely innocence. They are warnings. A language written directly onto the body. Poison dart frogs do not run fast. They have no claws, no fangs, no crushing bite. Their defense lies in their skin, the toxic chemicals many predators learn to fear after only one mistake, if they survive long enough to learn at all. Yet behind the image of a poisonous jewel lies a life more delicate than many realize. These frogs depend on humidity, on rainfall cycles, on microhabitats so finely balanced that even slight change can unravel them. Some poison dart frog species show extraordinary parental care. A mother or father may carry tadpoles on its back, climbing slippery bark and wet stems to deliver them to small pools trapped inside leaves or tree cavities. For a creature so tiny, that journey is the equivalent of crossing a vast and dangerous world. But what makes poison dart frogs truly astonishing is not merely the toxin on their skin. It is the fact that a creature so small can force the entire forest to respect distance. A small snake glides over the leaf litter, tongue flicking, testing the air. It notices movement. A bright body lands on a wet leaf. For a moment, the encounter looks easy to predict. But the rainforest never respects appearances. Young predators can pay dearly for underestimating beauty. And through such hard lessons, the forest learns to read color like a language. The poison dart frog proves that power in nature does not always belong to size. Some warnings are written in brightness. Some fortresses are built from chemistry. Some of the smallest creatures in the forest become among its most unforgettable symbols. And when the last raindrop slips from a leaf and the little frog vanishes once more into the wet green darkness, the forest closes around another radiant secret. A secret so beautiful it invites touch, and for that reason becomes all the more dangerous.